I'm State Senator Elbert Guillory, candidate for the Louisiana's 6th Congressional District. And I'm here to participate in Louisiana on Fire.
What's up, Louisiana? I'm Tim Davis, and you're watching another episode of Louisiana on Fire. And today, I have a very special guest, and we were just talking earlier, and I'm excited about this one. We're sitting with Senator Elbert Guillory in the flesh here. So, Mr. Senator, thank you for giving us the time to sit with you and whatnot. And I know we already talked about some things, but I definitely want our viewers to see and hear the history that you were telling me earlier. But you know what? If you don't mind, let's start from the beginning. Tell us about where you're from, and when you were born, all that good stuff, so we can get to know you better at the beginning, if you don't mind, sir.
Absolutely. I was born in the 1940s, right here, where we're on the property that we're sitting on. This is where my granddaddy was born. This is where my mother was born. And I'm the third generation to sit on this piece of property.
On the same piece of land.
Yes, sir. Same piece of land.
Staying in the family.
Staying in the family. My granddaddy, when he was born here, he was born a slave. And he bought it a little later after slavery ended.
Wow. So even further than that, then your granddad purchased this land from his master.
Yes.
How did, because I know of course you weren't there at the time, but how do you think that conversation went? Because you always see these movies about, and of course I know just history, slavery was just a very, very dark time. But you do see some masters who still took care of their slaves and gave them land and everything. So did you hear about any stories about his master then?
Oh, yes. His brother. He had passed, my granddad had passed by the time I was born, but his brother was still here. And so I was able to talk with his brother and learn a lot, and his brother's wife also. That family worked for Old Massa. And so they would tell me about how he was and what kind of person he was. And he was a good guy. That's why they stayed here and worked for him. And he helped them start a church and start a school.
And that the church is still to this day right here.
A block and a half from where we're sitting right now. And that's where, before that church was founded, it was on Bayou Rawls. This church is still on the banks of Bayou Rawls. And that is where the slaves used to meet and baptize in Bayou Rawls.
Bayou Rawls right here, and we're on this sacred land.
Absolutely.
Honestly, wow. And so you grew up here on this, born and raised.
Born and raised.
So tell me how things were for you as a young boy, if you don't mind.
I had a very good growing up. When I was young, I was able to walk to school, which was 2 or 3 blocks from right here where we are. And my mother graduated from that school, and I went there until the new school, J.S. Clark High School, was built in 1953. But until then, my first grades were right here at what they called the St. Landry Training School for the Colored.
Wow. So at that time, you guys it was only colored folks at this school.
Oh, yes. Until I graduated. When I graduated from high school, I graduated from an all-black, segregated high school.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Man. And I'm 39, and I went to Carencro High and whatnot, and it's mixed, and I just couldn't imagine, I'm still trying to understand, how things were for you guys back then. But did you like school? Or you athlete? How were things for you back then?
I love school.
Really? Love to learn.
Oh, yes. Those books that you see right there,
Yes, sir.
We always, because mom was a teacher and a school principal, we always had a lot of books, and so I was able to read. I can remember reading the newspaper when I was 2 years old.
Wow.
They taught me early about how to read and the value of reading.
Of having that education and everything, and whatnot. Because I know before, they were not able to have an education, get an education, earn an education.
That's
So they
correct.
wanted to make sure that you guys had better than them, I would assume.
Oh yes, it was God, education, and hard work. Those three things were drilled into my head since I was a little boy,
Right.
and I bought into it, and it has worked for me, just like it worked for my mama, and just like it worked for my grandpa.
Right. I would say so. I mean, you've become very established, when it comes to what you have done for not only Louisiana but other states as well. So I would like to thank your parents for that, for instilling that in you and whatnot. And I feel that you're continuing to do that, with your loved ones as well, like your son and whatnot too.
Absolutely.
Wow. So with you, when you were younger and you just loved to read, did you have a favorite subject or
I did not.
no?
By the time when I hit about 9 or 10 years old, women's anatomy became a fascination to me. But other than that, if it was written, I would find it and read it.
Right. So you just wanted to read.
I want to read. I learned so many different things about so many different people and ideas and history.
Well, is there something that you when you were a young boy that you wanted to be when you grew up? Did you
Oh yes,
astronaut? What was that?
I wanted to be a doctor.
Really?
Definitely, I was on my way to medical school. No questions about it.
And you decided not to, or
No, I got arrested.
what?
When I was 15, I was doing my family's taxes because I did the taxes for the family. My daddy was a World War One veteran. He fought in France in World War One. My brother, World War Two. And saying now we fought the wars of America,
Mm-hmm.
and I see that we paying the taxes because I'm the one who's preparing the papers.
Right.
But I can't go to the public library and get a book because of my color.
Mm.
My color didn't stop us from paying taxes.
Right.
My color didn't stop us from serving in the wars.
Right.
So my color's not going to stop me from going and get a book. So I went down to the public library, and the lady was very nice at first, and she explained to me that I could, if I needed a book, I could contact the school librarian, and the school librarian would contact her, and she would send the book to the school librarian, and the school librarian would check the book out to me. And that was convoluted, and it took a lot of time.
I was gonna say yes, sir.
But during the summer months, school was closed.
Right. So
So-
that lady in that conversation couldn't happen.
Right.
You-
Well, I
you still-
explained it to her,
Right.
and she said, ultimately, well, you better get your blankety blank 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 out of this place before the police come.
Wow.
So there was a little table, and it had some magazines on it. And so I sat down, and I opened a magazine, and I became the first black person in St. Landry Parish to read at the public library. Now, I can't tell you what I read because my knees were knocking because I knew that the police were coming and that unpleasant things were about to happen.
Right.
And so I went through it. But that moment made me a warrior for justice. From age 15 to right now, that is what I have done every day of my life. I've been a warrior for justice.
Right. You had it in you since you were young. You knew you were destined to be a pillar for the community and injustice.
I wouldn't say a pillar, but I was going to be a warrior.
You could be a warrior no matter what. You knew that.
Oh, yes. And I have scars all over my body, police dog bite right here. And,
Really?
Oh, yes. I could put my sleeve up and show you. I had a scar right here from a police billy club wrapped with barbed wire. Cut through my nice leather jacket. But those scars are on my body and they're not on my soul.
Wow, that's I like that scene. I like that. What happened for you to go through that though? Like what? Just being black at that time?
Oh yes. The way I explained it, because one of the things that I did, I conducted the first civil rights demonstration at my high school, a one-man demonstration. So they called my mama. My mama's been called to school 3 times in my whole life.
Really?
The first one, something real good when I was around the 3rd grade, and the last one, my last year, something real good, big honor. But this one was the bad part. So she and my mother, my principal, and the principal's wife, who was my homeroom teacher, they sat me down and they wanted to know why was I doing this crazy stuff, or some kind of communist? Did they come over and talk to you? Or,
They trying to figure it out.
yeah, I explained to them, if you had a dog biting your leg and the dog's teeth were in your leg, what would you do? You would do something to get that dog off your leg.
Yes, sir.
Well, there's something wrong. There's a dog whose teeth is in my leg right now. It's preventing me from achieving full citizenship in this country.
Right.
And so, y'all taught me. Y'all are the ones who taught, the 3 of you. You've been my principal since the 3rd grade. I said to my principal, you my homeroom teacher. You have taught me. And told Mom, I said, Mom, look, all of these years that you've taught me right from wrong. Mm-hmm. This was wrong, and I'm doing it right. And I'm going to make sure that everybody else does right.
Right.
And that was it.
That was it. And
They left me alone. Mama went home, went back to her school.
was that the first time that you decided, you know what, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to make a change?
Yes. That day, the morning that I got arrested,
Wow.
that was the day that I crossed the river. I said, I've got to do this.
And you kept going. You haven't stopped.
Oh, no. I went to Southern University when I was 16.
16. That's my alma mater as well. Shout out to Southern University. 16
All
years
right.
old. Go Jags. 16 years old.
When I was 17, I was the all-time youngest editor-in-chief of the newspaper.
Really?
When I was 18, I was expelled.
Expelled from Southern.
Expelled from Southern.
Well, so you were 16, and I mean at that age too. I mean, and then 18, they said you got to go.
Got to go.
What happened?
Oh, well, I wrote stuff in the newspaper that was illegal. It's like I was just telling you.
Illegal to voice your opinion, frustrations. It's just words, but I guess at that time, it cut deep.
Oh yes. Remember now, we're talking about 1963, and Southern University is a state-funded university.
Right.
So I was writing all this civil rights stuff, and those fellas at the state legislature were leaning on Southern University's administration. Say, y'all, you can't have this boy writing all this kind of stuff. It's illegal, and he's trying to incite people to riot or something. So, and then of course I called the United States Senator a lunatic in one of my editorials.
You had a way with words then, at the time, huh? I'm assuming if they couldn't take it at the time you were 18.
Yeah, right. I was 18.
So you had these adults, you had them flustered at the age of 18.
Truly. As a matter of fact, I'll be happy to give you a copy of the original editorial, the first draft of
Wow.
that editorial. I like it because it was so well written for a young boy. it was articulate, and it presented the facts in a clear manner. I'm proud of it.
As you should be. I mean, at the age of 18. And was this for the in the newspaper just for Southern at the time, or was it like the Advocate today? Was it published in that, or
No. Just the Southern University newspaper.
and it got in somebody else's hands and they
Oh yes, very quickly. Shortly after that lunatic situation, a gentleman knocked on the door and escorted me off campus.
wow.
I say a gentleman; he was actually a deputy with a sawed-off shotgun.
And you were living on campus at the time and they came and knocked on your door.
Absolutely.
Now, I lived on campus the first 2 years of college, and they just tore Jones Hall down. I don't know if Jones Hall was around at the time, but what
Yes,
hall
it was.
It
Yes,
was.
It was.
Why? Were you living in Jones Hall? Was it a different hall that you were living in?
Jones Hall was one of the two halls that I lived in. I don't remember which was first,
Right.
but they were right close to each other too. So.
I lived in Jones Hall as well. They tore down the original Jones Hall, and then they made a new Jones Hall. But my friends that I've graduated with, that we were in Jones Hall, lived in Jones Hall. It was kind of like a rites of passage for us. It wasn't the best conditions, but we made the best of it.
Absolutely, and that's what America is to me.
Right.
You have all these opportunities and all these freedoms, and if you take advantage of all of them, or some of them, or a few of them, it's up to you.
Right.
You can make it. You can make a bad situation good, or you can tolerate a situation, but
Right.
it's up to you. You climb that ladder of success, and in this country, that ladder goes far, far up.
Further than what we can see, further than your imagination, I'm assuming.
Absolutely.
And for you, you've been doing that, I mean, at a young age. And so with the times that you've been in trouble, like how many times have you been in trouble just fighting for what you believe is right?
I've had more than 50 arrests, more than 150 encounters with the police.
That,
And I want you to know that the reason that I could have all of those encounters and still be alive is because my mother and my daddy taught me to respect authority.
right, right. So even though you were stating your opinion and whatnot, you still did it in a way that was still respectful.
Absolutely.
Wow. What made you not give up though? Like, because every time, they would come in, you got, you can't do this, you can't do that. You never stopped. Like, what made you keep going?
Because I hadn't reached the end yet. It's like running a marathon. It's going to be difficult. You're going to have some hills and some valleys,
Right.
some sweat moments, and some smiling moments. But the goal is still ahead of me.
It still remains the same.
Absolutely. And that's why at this stage of my life, and I'm at the stage where I could ease back and either retire or
Right.
semi-retire,
Right.
go fishing. But man, I got grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still making sure that America delivers on all of its promises of justice, of equality,
Right.
of freedom.
Right.
So the job is not finished. I
It's not finished.
have at least one more battlefield before I even consider slowing down.
Right. It's coming up soon. And you ready for it though.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Ready for it. Ready for battle.
Ready for battle. I'm ready to go to Washington, D.C. and to fight to make a better education system in Louisiana. We were talking about the school that I graduated from.
Yes, sir.
America was number one on planet Earth at that time. We educated people. We had low dropout rate, very low dropout rate. We had a very low violence level, very, very, very low. Today, the schools or our classrooms, hotbeds of violence and disrespect. We have to turn that back. we have to go backwards to have our children learn to be respectful of authority.
So what makes you think? Not make you think. What do you think is the best way to do that, to achieve that?
One thing is that daddies have to step in and step up. Another thing is that the government has to get out of the schools so that teachers can run their classrooms. Right now, a little boy said something horrible. He's a 7-year-old child in the first grade. Teacher told him to stop doing something. It's something that happened right here in Opelousas. And the little boy said, blank you, to the teacher. No consequences. He left, they took him to the principal's office. He was back in his seat in 10 minutes. The lesson to that child was that you can do and say anything that you want to. The lesson to every other child in that room was that you can do what you want to do here. Say what you want to do in here. No respect. So all that chaos exists because we have stopped teachers from managing their classroom. And we need to get back to that. Let teachers run their classrooms.
Yes, sir.
Bringing daddies back into the equation, bringing teachers back into the equation. And I'd love to see preachers get back into the equation.
Right.
Right now, the church is not a major force in our communities as they have been in the past, long past.
Right. Like, so because I know I attended Carrico Catholic from 4 years old to 14 years old. So we would go to church every Friday and then go to church Sunday with the family.
Absolutely.
But we had religion. So it was, things are different now, I have to say. And I can only imagine how things were for you too, from seeing when you were coming up to now. I would assume that it's a complete 180 maybe.
Absolutely.
Wow.
We prayed. I'm in a public school, and we prayed 3 times a day, at the beginning, and at the end of the day, and when we got ready to go to eat. And for a mischievous little boy, and I'll admit that I was probably a mischievous little fellow.
Not you, huh?
Oh yeah. I love to pull pretty girls
Oh,
with
yeah?
long hair. I love to do that. They got that out of me kind of at an early age. But knowing that God was there, being reminded 3 times a day that God is watching me, helped to have me simmer down a little bit.
Right. You make sure you stayed on course.
Right.
Stayed on course.
Or not too far off.
Right. I mean, every once in a while you can kind of go, but you always came back though.
Oh, absolutely.
So you feel that that's one thing, that's multiple things, but those are some key components to that has changed, is in its religion and fathers and teachers not being able to have the management that they had before.
Exactly.
I can attest to the things are different. I see it in my little girls. She goes to school and whatnot, and it's things are different. Things are definitely different. I did want to touch on though, because when you're talking about staying on course and make sure you didn't get into too much trouble, but you served as well though, didn't you?
Military?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
So what were you? Were you in the? You were a sailor.
Yes, I volunteered.
Volunteered?
I was 4F, so I didn't have to worry about being drafted during Vietnam.
Right.
But I wanted to serve, and I didn't believe in the war. I did not believe that this was a valid war for America to be in. But the country was at war, so I needed to do my service. My daddy and my brother, as I said, they're all veterans. I needed to be a veteran. Plus, at that very moment, I was telling America, we serve. We fought your wars, and I'm going to fight this one. So I went to volunteer to be a combat Marine.
Really?
Really.
Volunteers said, sign me up.
That's right. But the Marine recruiter, it was cold. This was on a Tuesday, a February cold day,
Right.
Saturday. Marine recruiter hadn't gotten there yet, but there was a door open down the hall. A fella stuck his head out and he said, "Why don't you come on and have a cup of coffee with me?" I said, "No, man, I don't want to talk to you. I want to be a Marine." But he said, "Look, my office is warm. You have a cup of coffee, and I won't talk to you." I said, "Okay, that'll work. So I'll just go down here and wait for the Marine to get here." By the time I finished that first cup of coffee, I was wearing navy blue.
Really? Wow. What kind of conversation did to make you decide, you know what? I want to join.
There were several programs that I qualified for that the Marine Corps could not offer, but the Navy did offer those.
Wow.
Among other things, because of my academic background, I went in as a E2 instead of an E1 or something along those lines. I took a little
step up, right.
Right. And that was about $25 a month in pay. That was big money. Man.
Wow. $25 a month.
Yeah, I was making less than 100. I was probably making about $98 a month when I signed up.
I mean, there's not much you can do with $98 nowadays.
Oh, it was good money then.
Right.
But part of the problem nowadays is that because of the crazy federal spending and because of that crazy federal war against oil and gas, those two things have driven prices up. So now, even a $400 or $500 or $600, $1,000 a month does not go anywhere.
Right.
I can spend in one shopping trip for groceries, I can spend half of my Social Security check. And that's disgusting. That federal spending has to come down, and we have to do a better job of taking care of our elderly and our veterans.
Yeah, absolutely. Because most of my family, my dad was in the Army, so I've got family members that were in the Navy, still in the Navy actually. Air Force, my parent who passed away now, but he's in the Air Force. My uncle, former Marine, you name it. My family has, and actually the day I graduated high school, my dad told me, "I'm proud of you, but now you got a decision to make. Either you're going to the service or you're going to college." And I decided to go to college because everybody in the family had did the service. So I wanted to be different. So I went to Southern University as you did, sir. I didn't get kicked out at 18, but also I didn't get there at 16 as you did as well.
That's all right. We still Jaguars.
Yes, sir, we are. Did you go to homecoming this past couple weekends ago?
No, I didn't go to homecoming.
No.
I'm in the middle of a campaign.
That is true. Busy. You got other things that you have to tend to at the moment.
Absolutely.
You didn't miss too much. It was a lot of traffic, so you didn't miss much.
The only time that I have off is between 7 o'clock on Sunday morning and 12 o'clock on Sunday morning. And that's because my church, the church where I preach, is in Alexandria. And so
you drive to Alexandria?
Absolutely.
You don't stop?
Every Sunday morning.
Every Sunday morning, you're making a trip to Alexandria to preach.
Absolutely.
And then you come back and you get ready for the battlefields with this campaign.
Right. It's about 12 o'clock, I hit Opelousas, and I'm off on the campaign trail again.
Wow. So I want to touch on the campaign because I definitely want to get back to when you served and everything. But with the campaign though, like how are things going right now for you with that? You know, and what's a day in the life right now for Senator Guillory? Like, can you tell us how that goes for you every day?
We start at about 6 o'clock in the morning, average, sometimes as early as 4, and we end 10 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning. My days run between 15 and 19 hours each day. And that includes Sunday, because except for that part where I'm doing church business, when I get back, it's back to business.
Back to business. Now, is it going to slow down for you when the campaign is over, or it's going to stay like this for you?
Hopefully, when this campaign is over, I'll start preparing to go to Washington, D.C. and to represent Louisiana. And so the hours won't be quite as long, but it'll still be very intense. I have to get my priorities lined up. I have to start preparing legislation that I'm going to introduce. I have to start talking with my colleagues to get some support for those pieces of legislation that I'm going to introduce. The 6th Congressional District, which runs from Baton Rouge all the way to Shreveport, has rivers in it, the Mississippi, the Red River, where we can have major ports, major recreational facilities. We can make this the gem of Louisiana. But we need some more jobs. We need to take care of our farmers because they have to produce the food
Right.
at a decent cost.
Yes. Yes.
So by working with food production, getting some better jobs, good paying jobs back. I'll give you an example. There was a 5,000 people worked at a sewing machine factory less than 10 miles from where we are in Port Barry.
Right. Yes, sir.
It closed. All of those jobs are gone.
Gone.
They used to make underwear.
That's true. Yes, sir.
98% of the people in America today wear underdrawers.
90%. So there's 2% that don't. That's crazy. But yes, sir.
But America doesn't make one pair. All of them are farmed out to places like Honduras or Mexico,
Other countries.
other countries. So we need to do some of that work ourselves. Those were good paying jobs.
Yes.
And so we need to bring back good paying jobs. And that's one of the things that I definitely want to do.
Yes, sir. That's amazing. And I wanted look. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna stop it right here on episode on part 1. I'm sorry, with Senator Elbert Guillory. We're gonna catch y'all on the next one. Stay tuned for part 2. What's up, Louisiana? Thanks for watching another episode of Louisiana on Fire. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Oh, and don't forget to hit that bell so you can be notified for the next episode.